What's up, y'all? It's Christy.
I'm Courtney.
I'm Rashana, and we are the 1000 Club.
Hey, we lit. We lit.
Our visitors aren't moving. What is
Hey,
going on? Hey,
hey, get it. Hey.
get it, 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 get it.
Hey,
Break it down, break it down, break it
hey.
down, break it down.
We real lit today.
Hey, that's because King's lit.
Came all the way lit.
Yes, the energy is really good. Yes. So welcome to the club. Welcome to the 1000 Club podcast. We are 3 women, 3 friends, and we talk about a little bit of everything. We have 2 special guests today. We have Marsha and Kerri. They are both, do you guys consider yourselves like journalists, the media, all the above?
All the above.
Okay. They're journalists and media experts. Because we make everyone an expert. Amen. They are media experts in Barbados, and we're really just interested in hearing you all a part of our conversation today and getting to know you all as women. And happy Women's History Month, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thanks. See, she
Yes.
already got it. See, she already got it. That's how we just jump right in.
Yes. So we are going to start off with our usual, the check-in. So I'll go first. We are recording on a Saturday. We usually record on a Thursday, but today is a Saturday. And what did I do today? I got my hair done.
Yes.
Curls are popping.
Girls for the girls.
Girls are
Yes.
popping.
And then I went to Aldi's, and this was maybe like my 3rd time to Aldi's, and I don't really think I knew the whole gist of it. Like, I knew you had to pay $0.25 for your cart, and but I didn't know I had to bring my own bag. So I just had like all this stuff in my hand. And then when I checked out, like when she didn't give me a bag, I was like, oh, okay. So yes, lesson learned. I will bring my own bag the next time. I did not pay for a cart because I didn't anticipate really getting that many things. But next time I will be prepared, because I was surprised that they had a lot more name brands than I thought that they had. So yeah, so next time I'm gonna really rack up, I'm gonna stock up, because they had a lot. It was a really nice store, big store. I got a peach Bellini from there that I had earlier. It was pretty good. It was like $4.99. I'm like, these prices,
Yes.
they were what I needed. Okay. So yes. So I'm gonna go back. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good shopping experience.
I love Aldi's.
Yeah. So that's what I did today. Oh, and then I came back and I watched Judas and the Black Messiah. I have not finished. Let me tell y'all, I have been watching this over like days, maybe like 3 or 4 days, because I keep having to like pause. Like, I'm a person, when I watch movies that are based on true stories, I gotta pause and then like Google these people and read up on them. And then that leads me to something else. I'm watching YouTube videos and interviews. So I hope to finish tonight after we record. And then next episode, I'll give y'all what I think about the movie. Yes.
You're doing a whole research project over there.
Yeah, it was just, especially because it's based in Chicago, and that's where I live. Yeah. So I was just like, well, okay, this house was where? Like, now I want to go drive by the house and see like what's in the area. And then I'm like, the Bobby Rush, who was like the co-founder, I think he's like considered the co-founder. He
neighborhood tour?
Hmm?
You did like a whole tour?
No, I'm saying like I would want to go by the site to where he lived, or like the apartment, just to see like what the neighborhood looks like today, like see if maybe I could locate the headquarters, just to see, because there's all these sites here in Chicago. And then Bobby Rush is my congressman. So it's just really interesting. So yeah. So Courtney, tell us about your day, because you came late. Okay.
Yes, I lived up to my name today. I came to the podcast recording lit on 1,000 as usual. So
What is this poetry rap Saturday?
it's my Saturday spiel. Okay, I'm giving y'all the Saturday spiel today.
Yes.
Yes, I came lit to the podcast. If you live in the NJ NYC area, you know that we are up to 45% capacity. So your girl has some drinks and some hookahs today at the spots, and it was lit. So I came to the podcast prepared to be lit on the conversation. Okay.
Yes. We might need to do Saturdays more often. I'm loving this.
Yes. But I have questions. Are you gonna get tested next week?
Am I gonna get tested next week? Yes, because I have to come to your house, so I know that's gonna be a requirement to get tested. I already know that's part of the, the agenda of getting tested.
Yes.
I also
I want you lit. Just not infected. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I will be tested, but we did eat outside. We did eat and drink outside, so we were outside today. While it was windy, it was still nice. They had the heaters outside, and we did eat in North Jersey today. Shout out to Lori and Cindy for the fun drinks and hookah today. And we are planning, Lori done wrote me into this, so it is what it is. We're gonna go. We are planning a trip to the UK at the end of the year.
ooh.
So that was what our little gathering was about today. She's excited about it, and I'm excited to just go because I've never been. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna keep y'all posted on it.
Yes. And you got your shot, right?
Yes, I got my first. I did last on Wednesday. I got my first vaccination shot. I did get the Pfizer shot through the state of New Jersey. I didn't have any issues. The only side effects I had was I was really exhausted, but it could have been a combination of the shot and me just doing a lot in my life. So there's that. But other than my arm being really sore, I had no other side effects or reactions. So I'm blessed to have had a very smooth first shot, and I will keep y'all posted on the next one. The next one is at the end of the month, 21 days from Wednesday, which is the 31st, and I should have my second shot. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes, that's actually something I forgot to share in earlier episodes that I had gotten my shot. I got Pfizer too, and I got my second shot last Saturday, and I didn't have any symptoms. I just had soreness at the injection site. The second shot, like my arm was a little more sore, but that went away like the next day. So I know people have, very different experiences with the shots and especially with the different brands, but definitely if you are able to, definitely consider getting the shots. I know that they're saying that every adult will be able to get vaccinated in the US in May. So that's a big leap from where we were, where it was looking a little bleak. So,
At least
yeah.
I know in New Jersey, we have a waiting list of adults who are in like I want to say phase 3, who are under the certain age, don't have any health restrictions or anything like that. So there are a lot of people on the wait list who are looking to get vaccinated. So hopefully by the end of the summer, we are where we are expected to be based on the governor and the president's predictions.
Yes, because Moneybag Joe said we might be able to spend July 4th with our family and friends, okay?
Money bag, money bag. Hey.
I'm gonna be in Jamaica July 4th. But has anyone else got the shot? Oh, Kerri, how was it?
I got the AstraZeneca, but
Okay.
I only have the first shot so far. My second one is supposed to be at the ending of April.
Okay.
Like Courtney, I was really lethargic when I got mine. So
We can still hear.
yeah, I was really lethargic when I got mine, and I had soreness at the site, but not too much. I had chills on the first day after, and that was it. I just took Panadol.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I'm not fully there yet. But I did see Michelle Obama got her shot, so I trust her a little more than anyone else. So that made me think about it more. So that's good. That's progress for me. Yeah, that made me think about it a little more. What about you, Marsha? Did you get the shot yet, or?
I'm still thinking about it. Thinking
Mhm.
long and hard, but I
Yes.
have to to.
What are the things that you're considering?
Um, well, different side effects. I know people who have different side effects, and if I will get any of those, and even if I even want to have it.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, I just hope most of the world gets it and then I won't have to get it. That's really what I hope. I'm just very nervous about the time. I don't even get the flu shot. And yes, I do get the flu every year, and it is what it is. It just 3 days we're done. But I just you all have heard my stories here about my hair journey and the struggle, or if you follow me on social media, just trying to think about. Yeah. But Michelle Obama got it, and that has made me consider it. I do plan to at least register to be put on the list for Maryland to, so when they call my number, I can think about it. I do have
How long is the list? Oh, okay.
I don't know. The most I've done is literally pulled it up on my phone, and I couldn't press make an appointment. Like, I couldn't press that button yet. And only because I do have a pre-existing health condition, asthma. So I'm very nervous that if I, when I fill out the form and I put the pre-existing conditions, asthma, obesity, like they're going to say,
They
yep,
gonna move you up,
come
girl.
on Monday, right? And I'm gonna be like, oh, I wasn't ready, I wasn't ready. So yeah. So that's a part of my check-in.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
That I've been just over here considering everything. Also, I have been working very hard on getting my house ready for a photo shoot next week for my business, Vocal Action LLC. See, I'm wearing the brand today. So, Black-owned businesses, support Black-owned businesses. This is my reciprocity tee, which will look a little different maybe. But it says, tell me who I have to be to get reciprocity. I mean, you all know those lyrics on the back. It actually has Breonna Taylor's name, and also my cousin, James Bowden, on the back, who was murdered by the police in Boston in 1970. And his family was actually the first family to sue the police department in the nation and receive a settlement of $1 million that took 7 years to get, because the mayor did not want to give my family the money. You can read about it in a book called Use of Deadly Force, The Badge as a License to Kill, or something like that. So today is 1 year that Breonna Taylor was murdered by Louisville, Kentucky police officers. They continue to walk free while her body is there. And the only people who've gotten justice in this whole process are the neighbors who had bullets come through their wall. So the bullets were more important than Breonna Taylor's life. And that's why I'm wearing the shirt today. It's Women's History Month. That's my update. It's been a year, and it's been a long year, honestly. So today I've just been really reflecting on everything that has happened in a year in terms of COVID, as we've already talked about, in terms of here in America, just the continuous disrespect that Black people face. Like, it's just so disrespectful. And also just the mental strain and restoration that has had to happen, I'm sure, for all of us. Maybe, I'm assuming that has happened here for the people on the call. Just being a year in quarantine and not being able to do much puts a certain level of attention on one's individual self. And so I hope that everyone has been engaging in things to increase their mental fortitude and grow from this situation, because that's all we can do. So,
Yes. Well, we have guests. We got to check it in with our guests, Kerri and Marsha. So, just give us an update, what's been going on, but also introduce yourself. Tell us how you all know each other and whatever else you want to share.
Hi.
Hi, Marsha.
I know Kerri for the past 10 years now. We met on job, and we technically, I think from the very first day, we got along, and we stayed friends all this well. I don't think we've ever had a major argument. Interesting now that I actually think about it, but I guess that's a good thing. And my day was pretty busy. Because today was a work day, so it was like balancing different things and trying to meet deadlines. But on the good side, my little cousin's birthday was this week. He was 1 year old, so I also got to see him today. So that was a kind of like yay! I was really excited about that, and I was looking forward for that the entire week. Funny enough, he didn't stay along with me, but it was still good to see him today. So that was how my day went.
I'm super jealous, just so you know, Marsha. Because Marsha and I are cousins, and I was so excited.
Our cousin is sad.
It's fine. It's fine. I was so excited to go and meet this little baby last summer, and COVID happened. And I have had so many people have children around me in 2020. Like all of my close friends had babies. And I just feel like I am missing out. And I love babies. And I'm missing out on just everything. It's so sad. Kerri?
Oh, I guess I shouldn't add to that, but my baby niece is going to be 1 on the 18th. So next week she's coming all the way through. It's going to be 1. I saw a video of her today, and she was actually crawling all over the house, taking down everything. So yeah. Well, I know Marsha, and then last year I did no traveling. So in 2019, I would have traveled with Roshana for her birthday to Costa Rica. So we've done that together. I work in the media with Marsha for 5 years. We were at the same place, and then now this is 5 years I've been at someplace else.
Yes. And she's part of the Libra Club, right?
Yeah,
You're a
I am.
Libra, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a September one.
Yeah, September Libra. Sorry, Marsha, but happy you're part of the Libra Club too, girl.
Marsha, what's your sign?
It's the same thing, just October.
Oh.
Yeah.
Actually, where it belongs more so than September, but okay.
But let's be honest. September is where it begins, right? So there would be no like October if you did not have a beginning.
I just feel the shots just coming through the screen today.
Yes. And we have a Pisces and a Sagittarius. I don't know. Have we talked about signs on the show yet?
I don't think so. I mean, we mentioned our birthdays, but not signs.
Yeah. So we're Pisces.
Yes, I'm Christy. Hi, I'm Christy, and I'm a Sagittarius.
Hey, girl. Do you identify with me? Oh.
I'm Courtney, and I'm a Pisces. Yes. I am the emotional wreck of the goddamn 1000 Club.
You know what's so funny is I look up these, sometimes I find myself in a what do you call it? A spiral, like a social media spiral. Like Christy was talking about, you look up one thing and then it just spirals into all these other things. And Sagittarius, Leos, which I'm not a fan of Leos, but they are like my top 2 most compatible mates. And so that's interesting. And Pisces, I do not like Pisces men, but I love Courtney. And it's so crazy. Because interesting. Have y'all ever looked into that, like your compatibility through astrology? No, not. Okay, so I want to hear Courtney. Yes, what did it say? And then I want to hear Marsha and Kerri say why they have it.
I think when I looked it up, from what I can remember, and please excuse me because my memory is a little shoddy today because I came late. So I was it was like Taurus and Cancer, I think, that were like the most compatible signs for Pisces. But if you know Pisces really get along with everyone. We don't really like have too many issues with people. We just have issues. So
Pisces are flighty. They don't. They get along with everyone. That's the problem.
but yeah, Taurus and Cancer was at the top of the list.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see Cancer. Y'all are both very, very emotional signs.
It just
Why
it just
not?
wasn't anything I ever thought about to check.
Okay.
And I don't really follow signs, so I never really would have. Sorry, not, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. So, your
It's
boo,
the
what
same thing
sign
for
is
me.
he?
I have no idea actually.
When's his birthday? Let's do it now.
The August the 8th.
Oh, that's a Leo.
Oh, okay.
Okay, he's a Leo. And that's why I said Libra's top compatibility is Leo. Because there's something about when that fire from the Leo hits that, when that air hits that fire, it's explosive. It's explosive in a good way, but when it's not good, it's explosive the whole spectrum. Okay, cool. Okay, so y'all compatible according to the stars. Kerri.
Same thing as Marsha. I've never really checked it, but I would say, like, if I'm going through the newspaper or magazine and I see a horoscope, if I'm with somebody at that point in time, I will check theirs when I check mine. But
Okay.
it's not something I will look for compatibility from.
Okay, so not the compatibility piece, but just like checking what's happening for them that week or that month or something like that. Oh, okay. All right. Well, this leads us right into our discussion about questions you should ask your mate when you are first starting to date. Ooh, maybe I got the little piece of Courtney questions you should ask your mate when you are starting to date.
Come on, come through with the rhyme, man. Hey.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this all week. If you follow me on Facebook, I think all of you all do. You will know that I had some questions about the Meghan Markle interview. So who saw it first, or at least who's read about it or something? Okay, so everybody but Kerri. Okay, but Kerri has read about it. Perfect. So long story short, basically, homegirl Meghan was accepted into the family. Then somewhere she wasn't accepted. Harry has left America with Meghan. They call it a Megxit, which I thought was really cute. I mean, I know it's not good for her, but I thought that was actually really clever. To protect his wife and, to help her and for her to protect her own mental health and mental well-being. And during the interview, Oprah asked her this question. She said, so you never like looked Harry up or Googled or anything? And Meghan's response was that she was naive going to, those were her exact words, and that she didn't want to, I guess, like taint her feelings and the connection that she was having with anything that she might have read and found online. So my question to you ladies is, do y'all, what do y'all think about that? If you were dating, I want to know what you think about her and her situation specifically. So if you were dating a royal, would you Google? What would you Google? And then, I mean, do you do that now with people you meet? Go ahead, Courtney.
Okay, so Kane Witt says, I think for me, I feel like in this day and age, even within the past 5 to 10 years, maybe 5 years, let's go as far as 5 years, with social media and the internet, there's the ability to search anyone. And I would definitely look someone up to see who they are, like, very candidly. I look at their pictures, what they post in, who they are, so I can get a feel of who they are before I actually like either date them seriously or maybe even go on a first date with them. I thought it was interesting that she said she didn't, I can understand why she didn't want to Google him to taint whatever she was going to find out about him, because obviously he's a royal. But at the same time, I don't know if you guys saw, Kamala's interview with, I forget her name. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she said she Googled her husband, and that was like something she did. So it was interesting to see, it's definitely something that women are doing now. I don't think it's foreign for women or men to Google someone that they're interested in dating. But I guess I can understand her stance on not wanting to do that. I also thought it was interesting that she said she was very naive to it, because I feel like while in the United States, maybe the royals are not as big as they may be overseas, I think at some point there is just some curiosity and interest about like the person who you're looking to date or the person you're looking to court or whatever. So I don't know, I had mixed feelings about it. I was kind of like, I get it, but at the same time I was kind of like, sis, no, like you didn't Google him at all? You didn't Google anything? Like, even, I guess I'll go out on a limb to even say like interracial dating, you didn't even think to talk to like,
Yeah, we can't get there. That's not the question right now.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
so I'll backtrack. I'll backtrack, but yeah, I think
that's definitely covered, because that was one of my questions.
But yeah, I guess it was for me to respond to your question. Yeah, I would definitely Google someone, and I think if you don't Google them, I would ask you why you wouldn't want to at least get a little background on someone you're dating, especially because we have social media, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have even LinkedIn. Like professionally, you can even Google them even if you wanted to. So it'd be interesting to understand why she felt like she didn't.
Yeah, ultimately, I'm just surprised because she's a celebrity, and I thought that was what all celebrity people do. Like, you want to know who you're gonna tie yourself to for your brand at minimum. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I think for me, it depends. So when I was dating, if it was someone I met like from like online or like apps, I'm a Maryland court case search you first to make sure that you are like, you don't have no legal issues I need to know about. I'm probably definitely want to look at like your socials. But if it's someone that I already know, or someone who, like, if we know people in common, I'm gonna definitely do some reference checks. So I'm gonna ask the people that we know in common. I may not do it as in-depth search, Google search or social media search on you if we already know each other. But I feel like for Meghan, I don't know if it's maybe something like maybe with celebrities, like maybe they feel like, we're all kind of in the same circle. We all kind of know like what we need to know, or if she really just depended on Harry and what he was telling her about himself and his family. Maybe she just trusted him and just wanted to go off of his word. And I can understand the desire to go off of the connection and not go down this Google rabbit hole of all these stories and all this other stuff that may or may not be true. I think she was rough. Like she had mentioned that, she had a lot of talks with Harry about, the family situation and how to, I guess, date a royal. And I think she just trusted his word. I guess she felt like, I don't need to do this search. Now, when they first started dating, I mean, I don't know why she didn't do her search, but like I said, I don't know if maybe like she talked to friends and, they were like, oh, he's a great guy. Or, I don't know if like within that circle, they vouched for him, or she was talking to other people and she felt like that was more reliable than Google searching. But I do think it was interesting. I don't know, her personality kind of seems like, oh, I want to give the person the benefit of the doubt and I want to get to know them for myself. So I can't say that I was surprised, but if you are like us on this podcast, and you are out here dating, I would advise that you do some Google searches because people are crazy out here. So
Yeah, I agree with that, Christy. I think when you see her personality, you can see why she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go with the flow."
Yeah, I definitely felt like Oprah needs to refer her to Ayanla or something after this. And maybe not Ayanla. Ayanla might be too rough, but just like I think it would be good for her, just as we always talk about, you know, how helpful therapy is, for her to really have someone that she can talk to about some of the decisions and choices and things that she's dealing with. You know what I mean? She has a lot going on. And from this interview, yeah, I definitely would suggest that she seek that out so she can be fully honest and transparent with herself about some of those things. What do y'all think, Marsha and Kerri?
I can understand why she didn't choose to Google, just to have like a clear mind. So like, you won't be tainted by things that are out there. But just from a security standpoint, I figure you will still at least do a little check to make sure that you're not putting your own life at risk. So that part surprised me. But I think you should at least, even if you have the first date, but if you agree to go on the second one, you should have then gained enough information from the first date that it even will help you when you go check in, whatever you go check in with the second one.
Oh, that's smart. Make sure that's a cross reference. I like that.
Okay, so funny enough, that's the only part of the interview that I actually saw. And when I heard that part, that's what kind of made me tune out. Because I'll be honest, when she said that she was naive and she didn't check anything, I don't mind not checking about him, but I could not understand not checking about the process or the procedures or all of what goes along with royalty and dealing with royalty. So when she then went into the story about being unaware of having to curtsy, if you watch Princess Diaries, if you watch Prince and Me, if you watch The Princess and the Frog, like no matter what you watch, it could be a cartoon, it could be an American movie, like
It
they
could be
always
Coming to America. The
you
first
understand,
all this.
like they always say to you like there is protocol, and I just couldn't understand that part. Like I understand you don't want to Google him as a person to be tainted, but in terms of protocols, I did not get that part. I didn't understand.
Yeah, ultimately, I think after she said that, she talked about, she was thinking that in America, we don't have royalty. And so like celebrities we always say, like sometimes like celebrities are our royals, right? But I think this situation has amplified the fact that no, celebrities are definitely not the same as royals, right? And so she was saying that she thought like she was really dating like another celebrity. I don't think she understood like the tradition and the protocols you're saying that goes along with being a part of the royal family. I personally think that this is what I think. I think I think Harry is fine. Okay, he's a handsome guy. And I think that when he took her out, or however their first date went, whether it's a blind date or whatever, she was like, I'm dating a royal and I'm just gonna go with the flow. And then it's like, I'm marrying a royal. I'm about to be royal. You know what I mean? Like, I think she just really was. I think she really was just having a good time. And I think she got swept up. And I know in some part of the interview she said she got swept up. But I think that, and I'm not saying that she's only married to him because he is a royal. Like, I don't think that. I think that they really do have a genuine connection. But I do think that part of it was fear, because we know that ignorance is bliss in some ways. Like when I heard her say that, I immediately thought of Portia Williams. If you all watch Housewives of Atlanta, Portia Williams was engaged and is currently, I don't know what she is, with Dennis. And on the show, if you remember when she first started dating Dennis, she wasn't asking Dennis any questions. And her response to that was, I'm not asking no questions. I just have a man who's treating me good. He makes money. He's happy that I'm having his baby. I want a baby, right? And I remember her saying specifically about Kenya, if I'm not mistaken. She said, and maybe that's why Kenya's single, because she's over there asking too many questions, right? And I remember that episode clearly because I said, this is gonna be interesting. And so similarly, I felt the exact same way. Now, how we drag Portia is different because I guess we're not gonna drag Meghan because she's, like with a royal, but the same questions we were saying, Portia, like you need to ask questions. You should know who it is that you're dating. You should ask, like, you should figure these things out, because when you are marrying someone, you're not just marrying them, you're also marrying their family. And for her to be a celebrity at the time, I just feel like it was a misstep for her not to figure out if this is the person that she actually want to associate it with their brand, with her brand. Because what happens if he was out here? What happens if, let's think about this. Okay, she has a brand. And what happens going to, coming to the race part, right? What happens if people really start digging into what the monarchy might stand for, and maybe things that they have supported that might have negatively affected parts of the Commonwealth? And y'all correct me if I'm wrong. The Commonwealth is a group. The Commonwealth isn't one place, right? Y'all know that it's multiple places that are within the Commonwealth, right? Yeah. Okay. So, and so what happens if, like, and from what I'm reading and from what I've watched in documentaries and on The Crown, there have been some decisions that have been made by the monarchy, particularly for Black countries. And so if, let's say this stuff comes out, right? And it's something that's like currently happening. I don't know. I wonder if I would be like, ooh, do I want to associate that with my brand? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, do I want that as a Black woman, or not even a Black woman, because nobody called her a Black woman on the interview. She was called mixed race, and she identified herself as a woman of color. And I know that many Black people in America didn't even know she was Black until she started dating Harry. So I just, yeah. So I don't know. I think she got swept up in being with the prince, and just decided to go for it. And I would caution any woman, to, when you're dating someone, ask the questions that matter to you. Because it might, you want to ask questions, and not just about what the person's hobbies are, but you need to ask that man, what's his relationship like with his mother? What's his relationship like with his father? You know what I mean? Has he seen his family? Does you want to know those things, because those things affect who that person is. So what are some of the must ask questions, let's say in the first month of dating someone, for you all? Kerri, you're unmuted. It looks like you're talking. It's lit up.
Oh,
I was actually just thinking, and I'm like, in the first month, for sure. One of the questions for me is usually around money. So like financial, so
How you
money
got that?
management. I'm that kind of person who probably would work in, do you have a rainy day fund? Like I always believe in a rainy day fund. Or I will speak to the person, like I'm always ready to say, like, what kind of savings are you doing, investing, that kind of stuff, because it's something that people don't talk about. And it's very, very important in relationships, because for me, I would tell anybody, I feel like money can make or break a person, well, a couple, because, there's always the who's going to pay, who always pays. And as the relationship escalates in terms of going from just being friends to dating to being a couple, even getting married, then it's going to be shared finances becoming one as you go up the ladder. And some people, for them, that means everything's going to be shared when you get married. And for others, it's like, no, I'm still going to have my own personal account. Some people don't even know about a rainy day fund, and that's an issue. So I feel like for me, questions around finance are very important. Um, Questions around education are also important, because that has connotations for children if children come about. So if you're not big on education, being university, college, vocational skills, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not saying that it has to be university, but those questions for me, financial and education, yeah, those are top tier in the very beginning.
So let me ask you this: if when you say finances, what if you have someone who what's a deal breaker, I guess? Like what's a deal breaker for finances and education?
Okay, for me, when it comes to education, I would say a deal breaker is a person who doesn't have any value or worth for education. I'm that person who I'm never done learning something. If I see a course and I think, hey, this might be cool to do, so I want somebody who would still be there to support, not like, why are you going back to school? Those kinds of questions. That also means when you get kids and your kid is like 28 and still in school studying, you have some people who are like, hey, 18, find a job, 21, find a job, but they don't understand having a professional student in your house up until 30. Like, it's just something that can happen because, and let me just say, especially in the Caribbean, in America, you guys have a different concept in terms of moving out at a certain age, even taking the loan and going and study at a university abroad. In the Caribbean, in Barbados mainly, we don't pay full tuition for our University of the West Indies. So you find a lot of persons will stay home, save that money, never have to deal with the whole student loans, which is something that you guys have as a huge debt to carry into your adulthood. We don't have that. So here, education matters like that. And so I would say if he doesn't have any value for education, that's one deal breaker for me. In terms of finances, I don't have one beyond a person not wanting to better themselves if they're in a situation that's not the greatest when we meet. I would say on the flip side, though, there are a lot of guys who can't deal with that kind of dynamic where the woman is making more or she is the supporting breadwinner. So that could break it from the person's perspective because you don't want to feel bad or try to dim yourself because of somebody else. But it's like you came and you met me and I was working here. Again, if I'm studying and I'm bettering myself, my pay grade is only going to keep going here and here and here. And if you're not doing anything, you're just going to see the gap widening and widening. So if that's something that plays on the guy, it's not going to get better with time. That's one of those things that time is not going to heal.
Yeah. So you could date someone that lives at his mama's house.
Yes, in the Caribbean, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, because it's so different. As in, you might have a guy who lives at home with his mom, and that's it. It's only the two of them. Truthfully, she might actually be living with him because he pays all the bills, everything, the mortgage is paid. So it's like, but in terms of getting into a relationship and then going into marriage, I would not move into a guy in his mom's house. Like, we would still have to go move into our own house.
Got it.
But can I date somebody who lives at home? Yes, I can.
Okay.
What actually house is this?
What if the house is his? I'm still not gonna move in with him and his mom.
So he has to leave his house that he owns and get another house?
His mom has options too. Like,
You're gonna put
there's
on?
I gotta go.
lots of communities and stuff. Like, she can't be 2 years old. Like, there are options. I'm not saying to put out his mom, but I'm just saying we can go find our own home.
The Bible does say
I would not
man
move
leaves
him
his family and cleaves to his wife. That's what the Bible says.
Marsha, would you do that? Would you move in with a guy and his mom, or would you expect somebody to move in with you and someone else?
Okay, the moving him and his mom. It really depends on like his mother's health. Like, so if she was like maybe like had a disability or not all together on top. Sorry, she had a mental situation. I don't necessarily see anything wrong in moving into that dynamic because it will be easier. It just has to be something that is discussed where we agree that when I move in, it doesn't become she is still the head of the household. It's still more you are the head of the household. Assuming that the house is yours, this is where I'm going from. Right. You are the head of the household and I don't have to be like a constant tussle or it's something that you have to discuss before you go into. But if she's like not health wise or different issues, I wouldn't say put out your mother and or let us go and find, especially if you're an only child and he's the only child, I think that's something I would really consider.
So
I
if she's healthy, she gotta go, basically.
If she's healthy, then I don't see anything wrong with him staying there, and then we like how her arrangement where we will go and find our own place while she keeps the house or whatever. My only thing is if it's his house to go and find another house, but I would pursue it.
What y'all think? My mom always said adults cannot live together unless they're married or, together. But like, yeah, that's very difficult. Christy's married. So,
On that, two grown women cannot live under the same roof. I do agree on that. I think that could be problematic, but I agree. Like, I mean, if it was something that I had to, if we did not have our own homes or if we live with our parents, and I agree, like with Marsha, like if the parent had like a medical condition or something like that, I wouldn't mind living all under the same roof. But other than that, me and moms cannot live under the same roof because it just doesn't work out. And that's the same with like mothers and grown daughters. It just doesn't mix. But about questions, so when I was dating, one of the first questions that I would usually ask was about like church, like whether they went to church, um, about religion, what their religion was. I would usually ask about their previous relationships because I want to know, what were your previous relationships like? What went wrong? Why did y'all break up? What did you learn from those relationships? And like just in dating period, like how dating for them has been going, what they're looking for. I would usually ask that. I would usually ask about like what they want for their future. So when I was at the point where I knew I was ready to be serious about finding a husband, if you did not mention marriage, then deuces, like it's been real because this isn't going to work out. It's just our futures don't align with each other. With my husband, I think actually I feel like he asked me more questions when we first started dating. I feel like he was definitely a lot more intentional. I do remember him asking me about, I think he asked me about um my previous relationships. I may have that wrong. I do specifically remembering him asking me about my friends and whether my friends were married or not, or most of them were single. Only because I remember I was hanging out with my friends at the time and we were on the phone. And he was like, "Oh, so like, your friend's single, married, like, so we talked about that because I think most of his friends were married, most of mine were not. And I think sometimes your friendships can kind of shape your view on relationships and marriages. I think we did talk about family. So just questions around family, not really in depth. But I mean, I think things come out as you have conversations. So I wouldn't say that I necessarily ask questions, but as we would talk, things would come out just naturally. Um, Trying to think. Like I said, I don't really think I asked a whole lot of questions depending on the stage that I was dating. If I wasn't like intentionally dating, I probably really wasn't asking any questions because I was just dating just to date and seeing where it went. But once I started to be a little bit more intentional, I think that's when there were more serious conversations that were had about the future, about views on money, like Kerri said. I remember having a conversation with a guy about last names and whether, he would want, whether it would be okay for me to hyphenate my last name or whether, I would have to take his last name. Actually, my husband and I had that conversation as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking that on the first date. If you live with your mama, I'm sorry. And I think it definitely is something that is. I guess it is something that's different here. Than here, meaning in America, because when I do travel, specifically to the Caribbean, I do find that there are a lot of shared households. And it does take me back every time, like that there are grown adults living at home with their parents. Like that just that's so foreign to me in that way. And the reason, but the reason that I need to ask it here is I find that as I get older, and y'all know I'm 31, and the more I acquire in life, like the more I achieve, the more those things are important to me, because I feel like when we come together, we're going to be a unit. And, my dad's advice has always, his wish for me has always been to meet a man that can run in stride with me. Do not take the man that I have to slow my pace down or stop and wait for. You want to meet the man that can y'all meet and y'all are, you're able to run in stride together. And I always just think about that. And here, and if you live with your mom because you're taking care of her, that is one thing, right? Because at that point, it's really your mom lives with you, right? But if you live with your mama, your baby's mama, your grandmama, whoever, because you cannot afford your own, like you cannot afford to live on your own, that's hard for me to accept. Because I am a person who lives on my own, who has my own home, owns my own home, and I get nervous because I'm not sure, going back to finances, going back to just fundamentals, morals, if you believe that you're supposed to come into this relationship being able to run in stride with me, and it's not to say that you won't meet someone and encourage them. I have dated guys who might have been like, maybe they lost their job or something like that, and they were rebuilding, or just was divorced and were rebuilding, and so they like they might have had to move back home, or a roommate situation. That's the other thing. If you have a roommate, I also have to know, because I want to know, is it a roommate by choice, or is it a roommate because financially this is what you can do, and that's important to me, especially because I have assets, and I want to make sure that I'm equally yoked, and that I'm not mixing that up. I also I'm a huge family person, so I'm asking all about your family. Like, I'm asking all about your family. And if you're not a family oriented person, like if I ask you and you're like, I don't want to talk about that, I don't know how much we're gonna work, because I'm always with my family. Like, all of y'all know this here. Like, I love my family. And so having someone who's not as close to their family, and doesn't have a great relationship, I have questions. I'm asking about your mental health. Have you been to therapy? Because I want to know, like, where you're at in terms of who you are as a whole person, as a man. In addition to the other question, education education in terms of like acquiring degrees and stuff is not a huge thing for me, because I just like a man who can work, honestly, like, and can go after his. So he doesn't have to have went to college or anything like that. But yeah, I am asking about your spiritual. I'm asking about your whole living situation. I'm watching how you spend money on that first date. Because I don't know if here on the podcast, like, I've been out with men who, like, they spend all of this money on the first date, and then we can't go out again until we get paid again. And that's problematic to me. For real. Like, Kerri's laughing, but for real, and that's problematic to me, or you want to pop bottles and then somehow we split in the bill, like, no, if that's your lifestyle and that's what you live, I'm watching that. Because if we can't go out until you get paid again, that lets me know that you're not good with, like, knowing how to budget your money. And we'll have disagreements. So Courtney, what you asking?
I am asking, I guess I feel a little different about the living at home thing. I dated a guy who lived at home and it was terrible. So I don't want to ever date a guy who lives at home. I don't care what your situation is.
Neither.
I don't
Oh,
care how sick someone is. I don't care what's happening. I'm just not for it. And I think part of it is because I've been I've been on my own since I was 18. So for me it's different. I've never moved back home. I've never lived, back in my parents' house. And I'm not knocking anyone who does. I think for me it's just different. My level of independence, I'm just like, you have to be able to be independent. Um I can't I can't date someone who's not that. So that's my look on it. Some of my first questions are: have you been to therapy? How do you deal with trauma? How do you deal with, issues that arise in your life? As someone who is a recovering people pleaser and a recovering, I'm gonna try to be your therapist and your mama and your girlfriend and your wife and your sister and everybody. I can't be all that. So I need to know you got somebody in your life that's handling that for you, so I don't have to do that. I'm also asking, like, does anyone think they're in a relationship with you? Because where are you at right now in your life? Like, like, no, you might not think you're in a relationship with somebody, but the shorty over there thinks she dating you. Like, I need to know, because I just need to know where this is progressing, how this is moving forward. I'm also asking you, depending on, and this may be a little controversial, but it is what it is, depending on where you work, are you able to navigate my world and your world? So like, let's say you don't work in government, are you able to navigate my world? And maybe you're a construction worker. That's cool. I'm all about the funds. I'm all about the money. Like, we can get money together, but can you put on a suit and navigate my world just as easy as you navigate yours? Like, I don't want to feel like when I bring someone into my world, I have to, for lack of better terms, water it down to make them feel comfortable. Can you rise to the level of where I'm at?
You mean like code switch?
I guess code switch is the right word for it in this instance. I guess you can use that word right now. But I guess it's more so like, I don't necessarily need you to code switch, but I need you to be comfortable in yourself to stand in that place with me. Like, I can't date a man who's not confident in himself to stand in that place with me.
Like, you have to find another plus one.
Yeah.
Like, your plus one for work, but it's also your plus one for partying. It's also your plus one for, like, you don't want to have to bring in a friend and be like, okay, this is the person I take when it's work functions, because I know that person is not going to work well in this situation. I get what you mean completely.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Absolutely. So yeah, those are some of like the first questions that I'm asking. I'm also asking about kids and marriage, because that's what I want. I'm also asking about like where you live. While I live in Jersey, I don't know if my permanent place is in Jersey. So are you willing to move? Are you willing to, to relocate? What does that look like for you? So those are some of the questions that I'm asking.
Yeah. I really like the thing about just being able to be sort of a chameleon in various environments, because that's also similar. Well, not similar, but that's also what was hard, I think, for Meghan Markle, right? Because she is this person. She had created her own identity, and then she had to transition into this family where it never turned off. It was like, I guess to me, here in America, I would liken it to probably marrying into the Kardashian family, where like you marry into a family that like the family is the business. And so you never can turn off. Like, like you don't have that opportunity. But I totally agree with you. You want a person that when you're going to the functions understands that this is the culture there. But I also think that comes to understanding you, right? Because sometimes in a work setting or a networking setting, you're gonna be a little different, because that's boss you, that's business you, and your spouse is gonna recognize that. But if he doesn't understand that that you're doing this because this is what this environment calls for, this is what your future you're building on calls for, then yeah, he may be like, why are you talking like that? Or why are you dressing like that? Or why you let her talk to you like that? Like, Yeah, so that definitely comes with just really understanding each other. Marsha, what questions did you ask your boo when you first met? And I know that y'all were friends first, so do you feel like there were questions that you had to ask when you first started dating, because it's like there's a transition that happens from being friends to then going into a relationship?
Um, I guess in the friend stage, it was just, well, questions came up because generally in conversation or whatever, so I had an idea. So then it wasn't that many things that I would have had to ask in the first month. But for sure, questions about drinking, smoking, drug use at all was like a big question for me. Like Christy, religion and values were something that was important I needed to know about. And then your relationship with your siblings or your friends, like how important, how high up do you place your friends over maybe work or anybody else or anything else that you have to do? So that was for sure some of the things that I wanted to know.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts? Where do you stand on those issues?
Everything that I just said.
Yeah.
um well, you have to share have similar values to me, otherwise it just can't work. And similar religious beliefs for sure, because I've read and I've seen how persons who might be of a different um belief, and then they try to make it work, but then it doesn't work. It can't it's like always shaky. There's always something that is conflicting, and that's always hard. I mean, they believe it could work along the lines, but it's something that always comes up. And I don't necessarily like being involved with somebody and there's always like this gray elephant in the room where we walk around it, but then we somehow every conversation, every discussion always comes back to it, even if we don't say this is exactly what it is. So I don't like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you think that another thing from the Markle interview that came up, as you all know, just in their relationship, is race. And when she talked about what they bonded over, and this is specifically from the interview that she had with Oprah, so she may have had other interviews where she talked about it more, or she might have had these conversations but has not, disclosed any details from those conversations in other interviews. But um, she said that they bonded over their foundation work. And so it doesn't seem as if she had, or we don't know based on this interview if she had conversations about race. And so one of the questions, or one of the thoughts that led to a question that I had, was really in terms of, if I'm a Black woman, or as Meghan Markle describes herself, as a woman of color, and I make that distinction because I have my own personal thoughts and beliefs about Black women who identify as women of color, rather than just saying they're Black. But and
I
so
just say I thought she identified as mixed race.
so Oprah was calling her mixed race, but when she was describing herself in the interview, she used woman of color.
Okay.
Yeah. So and so I just, and even as a, I guess, mixed race or woman of color, whatever, I just feel like if I am then dating someone who is not, who's white, I'm wondering like what those conversations were about. Like how do you all think that conversation went? If it I'm just very surprised that it doesn't seem like either of them were, it just seems like they are surprised that race is an issue, or has been an issue. And I'm surprised that they seem surprised about that. My question is, thank you, Courtney. My question, I mean, I just want to talk about that. Like, I just want to know what y'all think about that. That's really the question. because I just find it weird that as a woman of color or a mixed race woman that you didn't think to ask your white husband about how you would be accepted. Like,
maybe both of them have dated people of different races before. Therefore, for them, they have at least in the back of their mind how they'll be accepted. I'm just making an assumption. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, we've always seen the memes of Harry like looking and we like, Harry's gonna risk it all. Like
He's invited to the cookout.
I don't know.
So
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Like I don't know. I thought I would say Harry's invited to the cookout, but after listening to him to this interview, I don't know. He can get a to-go plate, but I'm not sure if I'm inviting him to the cookout.
I think I don't know if maybe she didn't address it, or maybe both of them didn't address it, because she seemed to have been well received by the family initially. I mean, she spoke highly of Queen Elizabeth. I think she was maybe the only one that she really spoke highly of.
The two of them all speak highly.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess to her, maybe that's the main one, because he's so fond of his grandmother. Maybe that's the main person who she felt like, oh, she's so warm, so welcoming. She's offering me her blanket to cover my knees with. Like, like maybe maybe she's just like, this is who my man highly regards, and I have her approval. And maybe she just didn't think about the other members of the firm, right? I also think, I mean, I do know that Meghan Markle was married to a white man prior to Prince Harry. I've only seen Prince Harry to date white women publicly, but I'm going to assume that maybe Meghan Markle's world is maybe more so not people of color. I know that she does have Black friends and, other persons of color that are her friends, but I'm going to assume that most of her experiences have been more so with people that are not of color. And so maybe she thought that, I don't know, maybe she thought she was just going to be accepted, right? Like, even though, she's mixed race or a person of color, I know that she claims both sides, but I think her experiences.
Does she claim both sides? Yes. Okay.
I mean, I know she doesn't have, I think, a good relationship with her father. She has a good relationship with her mother. So
I've never heard her say she's Black. So that's
no, I've never heard her say she's Black. I think she does identify as mixed race or a person of color, which that's her choice. She has a Black mother, she has a white father. But I do think that, like I said, I think from her experiences, maybe she just didn't think about, we don't even know. I don't know. I don't know of her views about race, right? I don't even know if she has those conversations with people in her world, right? So I don't even know if that was something that was ever addressed. And if she was being received well in the beginning, in the dating stages or whatever, I don't know that they would have ever had that conversation until the tabloids came into play, and then she wasn't being protected by the institution and all of that. So, I mean, I think I would love to hear what conversations they have now about race, because all of these things have come up. Because I mean, and I'd be curious to know if she's ever had to deal with this before, being that it seemed, she was married to a white man. I don't know if she's dated Black men or other men of color, but I'd be interested to know, has she ever had conversations or experiences like this before? Because she seems to have operated in a more white facing world to me.
I think that because I was surprised. I had this conversation with two of my family members, and their comments were they did not even know that she was Black. So do you think that her complexion gives her, I see Courtney, you can answer, anybody can answer this, but do you think that her complexion gives her somewhat of, and I'm going to use the word privilege, and I'm using the word privilege as a dark-skinned woman, right? Like, do you think that her complexion gives her a privilege to date a white man and not have a race conversation?
I don't necessarily, I will go to say, I think she believed, because she was a lighter skinned woman, that the issues of race would have not been as deep as they came out to be. I would say, I would go as far to say, I think she believed that, one, I think she may have believed that because she was not a dark skinned woman, that the issues of race may have not been as deep. I would go as far to say maybe she believed that his family would have accepted her more because of him, and maybe that clouded her judgment. Maybe she thought, oh, well, if they accept him, they'll accept me regardless of what I look like, and not realizing that one drop is one drop regardless of whatever you look like. And clearly it's prevalent that one drop is really one drop. I would also go to say, I think I agree with Christy. I think she, for a long time, may have not really operated in a world as a celebrity in the US in the American sense. Maybe she was able to operate in a world of monetary privilege that she thought race didn't really come into play. And maybe at some point she thought that that translated to the royals, and that it wouldn't be an issue because on a monetary level she was able to navigate this world as a woman of color. And the rate, while she is a woman of color, maybe the race thing didn't come up as much, so she thought the same thing was happening overseas. And maybe she thought because Harry and his family was doing so much work in Africa that they wouldn't be as upset as they was about it, not really realizing that, like, girl, you still black at the end of the day, and no one in his family is black. So I think I would say in her, if I'm thinking, if I'm trying to understand her stance and maybe just respond to the question, I think she, for lack of better terms, I'm going to use this word, did a disservice to everyone because she didn't really understand the full scope of it. And I think maybe I was having this conversation with Sean or someone else when we were talking about, like her mother just being Jamaican, like, and understanding, the Commonwealth through that sense, and understanding what it is to be a black woman. And her mother's from Compton, so what does that feel like being a black woman from Compton, and like understanding that, particularly because she may not have had a strong relationship with her father, but she had a strong enough relationship with her mother to understand that sense. So I think I would go to say, in her mind, she probably did not see it as such of an issue as it was, based on her color, based on her monetary stance, based on her status as a US celebrity, and maybe just based on her relationship with Harry. Maybe she thought that the family was just going to accept her as who she was, regardless of what she came with, because he was a part of that royal family.
Yeah, I think she, like you said, maybe she thought that love transcends all. And just a disclaimer, or not a disclaimer, but just an understanding. When I say I personally think that she may not say that she's black. And if those of you are watching, if you have interviews or clips or whatever that you would like to hyperlink under this, where she does say she's black, please do. But I also wonder, because I know how people can be, particularly with lighter skinned people. And if she comes out saying she's black and she does not look black, right, then she probably always was asked that question. Well, I mean, so what else are you, right? Or what are you? Or you're not black, right? And so because of that, having to constantly explain that she is black, but she's mixed race, it probably is also easier for her to just say, I'm a woman of color or I'm mixed race, because then nobody's asking a question, because you look at her and you're like, right? I did want to ask a question. I see Kerri, so Kerri definitely answered this part. But if you and Marsha can talk about, is Barbados a Commonwealth? Because I know there's an article that was written by I thought so. So I know there's an article that is recirculating from BBC from last September, where Barbados is pushing to get rid of head of state. And I think it's recirculating because of this interview and all the conversations around race and the monarchy and colonialism. So Kerri, you can answer whatever part, but if you can, the two of you all can also explain what does it mean to be like a commonwealth and have a head of state.
Okay, the first thing would be the question before, which was about the race relations. Um, just one thing, does Meghan have any siblings?
She has a sister who's writing a book, but I
Yes,
think
Her
it's
sister is on her father's side,
Yeah.
not her mother's side, on her father's side.
So why I asked that question is because if I have a Black mother and a white father, and you get a Meghan, then Meghan might be of the perception that a Meghan and a Harry will make a lighter Meghan closer to a Harry. However, somebody asking that question about the race shows that that body knows about what we call in the Caribbean the strike back. She is not thinking about the strike back, but let us also take into consideration that some of the people in the royal family are related. So they know about the strike back, not for color, but they know it for hemophilia. They know it for certain birth defects in terms of genes. So hereditary things they know come through the genes. Therefore, they know these chromosomes and these chromosomes make a certain phenotype or genotype, but it's gonna present in another way. So somebody asking that question, yes, it might sound like we want to know how Black the baby's gonna be, but these are people who might have never seen it. So for them, it's like, you know, a light Meghan and a white Harry. They should make a lighter version. What happens if the baby girl strikes back to her mother? In the Caribbean, I will tell you, as soon as you have a baby and someone comes and visits you in the hospital, they're going to look at your baby and they're going to say, your baby is so cute. And they're going to take her hands and they're going to look at them and they're going to flick her curls and look at the top of her ear. Because we know that you're going to become the color that's the top of your ear and you're going to become the color that is your nail bed. And that is something that we Black people in the Caribbean do. And it's something people say, like they will go, oh, she gonna be darker than the two of you all. Oh, she gonna be lighter than you. Like their comments that they make. So hearing that question didn't shock me like that. I felt more like, does the person know? Are they educated? What about Harry and Meghan? Like they're so taken aback. Did they ever consider it? Like, what do you do if she comes out looking like your mom? Like you yourself don't identify as Black. How are you gonna raise a kid who now has to identify like your mom? Like that's gonna be, you have to internalize that. Harry has to internalize that, and then y'all have to together portray that to teach the firm to then put that all out there. That's a lot. And they never had to deal with that. So I'm not saying it is a good question to be asking, don't get me wrong, but I understand to some extent why the question would have been brought up because it comes up all the time with people. They go, oh, you and a darker guy. Well, you know, you're fairly red, so you'll get a brown baby. People do it.
Yes.
As it relates to the Commonwealth, yes, Barbados is part of the Commonwealth. Last September, we would have had the first throne speech for the reopening of Parliament. Our Parliament was prorogued last year for the first time in God knows how long. We have never had a prorogued Parliament, which just means that Parliament was closed down and it was not functioning, and then it resumed operations after the throne speech. The throne speech is actually read by the head of state at present, which would be the Governor General. However, it is written by the Prime Minister, and that's something that a lot of people did not know. So she was just bringing forth the Prime Minister's words. Within that throne speech, one of the things that were mentioned would be that the hope is to remove the Queen as the head of the Governor General as the head of state by removing the connection to England and to the Queen by the Independence Day of 2021, being November 30th this year. The move is to make Barbados a republic, and under a republic, then you would not have a head of state like that. You can actually move to having a prime minister and a president. Trinidad has that set up. The other differences that come with it is you get a Republic Day, so you get another national holiday. You get Republic Day and you still have your Independence Day. So your Independence Day would have been when you became independent from England, and anybody that England would have colonized to some extent would have been part of the Commonwealth. So not just the Caribbean will be Commonwealth, but places in Europe will be Commonwealth as well. I think like New Zealand, different places were also part of the Commonwealth.
The head of state's role, like when you have that, what can they like veto something that the prime minister says?
Yes. So basically, the head of state, she is the final say for a lot of things. A lot of people don't understand it. So, like in January, when we would have had our prime minister saying that she would like to make 2 days in January holidays, just so that contact tracing could have been conducted. At the end of her speech, then she said, however, this needs to be passed by the Governor General. The Governor General has to grant those 2 days to be. So she can put forward the proposition or the proposal to the Governor General, but the Governor General has to stamp, sign, and seal, and that is how it will be passed into law and legislation, into the official gazette and the order papers, so that those 2 bank holidays would come up. The Governor General is the only person who can. She sits as head if, for example, let's say last year, if anything, not last year, in 2018, if anything had happened to Barbados when Parliament would have come to an end, and then there were 90 days of our constitution before you had to call an election officially. For those 90 days, anything happening in Barbados would have been at the Governor General, because we did not technically have a prime minister for those 90 days. So she really is the head of state. She gets last say.
Mm-hmm. And just for anybody watching, Marsha, a prime minister, that is like almost synonymous with like when in America when we have a president. Or would you say that the head of state through the general, what's the word?
Governor General.
Governor General, is the Governor General actually more like the president?
I think both are kind of depending on what it is that has to be dealt with. Am I wrong, Kerri?
Okay, so I guess the president will be more like the Governor General, because your president can sign all the papers and everything, and just, does it still have to go to the Senate and everything to be passed, or can he just sign it directly?
There are certain things that our president can like run through, but most things, yes, have to go through our government.
Okay, so that's the thing with our prime minister. What she does has to go through Parliament, or the Governor General then has to rubber seal it. So at the state level, you know how you have a governor and a mayor? Which one is higher?
The governor. The mayor is like the mayor of like a city or like the town, and then the governor is the governor of a state.
Okay. I guess if you put it more like that concept, I don't know. But yeah, our prime minister and governor general will share roles of your president, but
Okay.
one can't replace the person.
Okay, but the prime minister still laws and things have to still go through your government, and then once they're passed, they still be approved by the head of state.
If it goes through Parliament and it goes through Senate, it will pass.
Okay,
but
and it doesn't have to get authority. Okay.
More than likely, the papers will then just go to her, and once she sees it, she will sign it, and then it will be gazetted to say that on this day, this particular law was passed.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted to pin that is because and Courtney in her example, she mentioned the word Commonwealth, and it's something that we have seen a lot on our end, at least in memes and just through social media around people trying, particularly, Black outlets trying to figure out trying to really to come to terms and explain race relations outside of America, and for just trying to come to terms and explaining it. I think, and Christy and Courtney, correct me if I'm wrong, but I personally feel like this Meghan Markle interview was necessary for people to, when I say people, I mean Black people here in America, to realize that racial injustices and these questions and conversations aren't just happening in America. And I know we say that a lot and we have access to it through social media, but I personally feel like I haven't seen as much like camaraderie or support around different issues related to race outside of America by Black Americans. I mean, that could just be the Black Americans that I follow because, you know, we know that things are filtered by an algorithm, and just trying to make sense of what that looks like. And so my question to you all, and I don't know if you all can answer this question. This is actually for Kerri and Marsha first. I don't know if y'all can answer just because you're members of the media, but like, what are your thoughts on the decision to become a republic? Is that loaded?
I can answer it from articles that I have written. My personal thoughts, um, I guess I'll reserve those. But from things that I have written, most persons have, it's something that persons have wanted for a long time. It's not something new. It is something that has been discussed by previous prime ministers on countless occasions. More than, I don't even know, but well, maybe like two or three prime ministers have actually had discussions about it in public forum, and it's something that most people want. The only thing is, the question now is that people are still trying to decide is the type of republic that we will be. Because we can be similar to like the one in Trinidad, we can be similar to the one in Guyana, we can be similar to America, but it's the type that would fit our mold. As where the discussion is, not necessarily whether or not we want to break ties completely with England, but it's more like how are we what is Barbados going to look like as a republic going forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as she said, it matters what type of republic, and I guess one of the biggest things for persons would be checks and balances. That's one of the biggest concerns of people. So the same thing with the head of state, where you know that beyond the prime minister, there is another. So it has to go through parliament, it has to go through Senate, and then it still has this other person. So it's like for some people, it's just that you would have more checks and balances under the current system. But with the republic, it's a little more one person minded or fewer person minded. And that's one of the concerns that people have. But a lot of people want to go towards the republic on the grounds that it will get rid of some of the ties to the colonial masters, as they say. So, like recently, we would have had the removal of the Nelson statue. Persons within the Caribbean would have been talking about removing certain logos or certain
Nelson.
types of pictures. Pardon me?
Nelson.
The Lord Nelson statue, Admiral Nelson. So there's an Admiral Nelson statue in very many of the Commonwealth countries, actually. So like you would have them in London, you would have them in some parts of Europe. Some of the other Caribbean islands had them. Like it's not just Barbados that would have had the Admiral Nelson. It's like your equivalent of like Christopher Columbus, basically. Would have been the person who led the charge to come over here and basically lay claim to some of the slaves, bring them over, that kind of stuff. So we took down that statue, and he would have been the person who would have won at the Battle of Trafalgar. So you would find that in a lot of places where there's a Lord Nelson statue, there's a Trafalgar Square, and there's a huge Trafalgar Square in London.
Mm.
So that removal was just one of the things that people have been talking about for a long, long time, and then it finally happened. But as I said, like a lot of the emblems and stuff, people want to see those changed. So like the pins that you get for independence honors or for different awards in Barbados and the Caribbean. So like Jamaica, they had one that actually had um it was like a devil and an angel kind of battling, and the devil was black and the angel was white. And so like, as in people, white face and black face. So like, that was one of the things that they were like, we want this gone. So things like that, those kind of conversations are starting to be had because of everything that's happening now in America and everywhere. Black Lives Matter, the race relation conversation. So they have come into the Caribbean, and we are having some of those discussions. But what a lot of the prime ministers are doing is they're passing it on to the people. So they're basically saying, for this to happen, we're going to have a referendum and let the people decide. They don't want to be the person who makes the one shot call. So a lot of people are talking about having referendums now to determine what stays and what goes.
So early in the beginning of this conversation, or beginning of this episode, we talked about Breonna Taylor, and you just mentioned Black Lives Matter. Do you all have like a Black Lives Matter chapter there? Or do you all have like protest for these things that you all are talking about? Marsha, so you shaking your head?
Yeah, there was a protest last year. Actually, does the protest and everything that is what led to the statue actually being removed in
Okay.
decision. So there were a lot of them, but they were not what do you just call the groups just now? You call
Like
them,
Black Lives Matter?
but you call them something just now.
I don't know.
Right. But there are majority, well, several of the conversations about race and stuff and the Black Lives Matter is usually done by the Pan-Africanists here. So I was trying to remember what you call them, because it's not, we don't call them, it won't be the same label.
Well, she was asking if there's a Black Lives Matter chapter in Barbados.
Right, chapter, right. We don't call it a chapter, right? It's the Pan-African groups and stuff.
Okay, so you don't have like a Black Lives Matter chapter, you have Pan-African groups. And my question for Christy and Courtney in this conversation, when we talk about Black Lives Matter and hearing about the Commonwealth and also the different things that are happening, at least in Barbados, like what are y'all's thoughts? You're on mute, Courtney.
She's saying about everything. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
My question is listening to them talk about the Commonwealth and what it means to be a Commonwealth, and Black Lives Matter, or not Black Lives Matter, but the Pan-African movement in Barbados. For the two of you all, I don't know, I'm just repeating the question. What are your thoughts about what you're hearing?
I mean, for me, I'm not surprised. I mean, there's issues affecting the diaspora, so I'm not surprised that, there would be a movement in Barbados or any other Caribbean countries, that there would be movements in the UK or in other parts of Europe. So I'm not surprised. I wasn't really surprised with what was revealed from the Meghan Markle interview, because racism is very much alive in this world today. So I wasn't surprised by all of that, but I'm glad to hear that there are various different movements, various different groups that are active in the fight for racial equality, justice, and just hoping that Black voices continue to be amplified throughout the world.
I would say to that point, I agree with Christy. I'm not surprised these things are happening. I will go out on a ledge and say I think for Black Americans, it was foreign to think that other countries deal with these same things. I think Black Americans, because the racism is so apparent and, front and center in America for some people, for most people, in terms of like just the inherent racism that comes out, I think maybe Black Americans assumed that America was the worst off. And I'm not saying that they aren't. I think people just didn't really realize that these issues happen everywhere. So I do think to a certain extent, the conversation, it was needed, but it was also a wake-up call for many Black Americans. And I'm using Black Americans in particular because I think to a certain extent, Black Americans, and I'm not saying everyone, so whoever's listening, If you feel like you're not in this group, you're not in this group. I don't think all Black Americans are oblivious to the racism around the world, but I do think because we live in a country that, you know, you can kind of be blinded by what's only in the US. You don't really realize that these issues are happening everywhere else. So I will say, I think I'm not surprised that these conversations are happening, but I will say for some people, I think it was an eye opener that actually, you know, Black people around the world deal with these same things in their day-to-day life. And these are same conversations that are happening. You know, if you're in an interracial marriage in Alabama, New York, New Jersey, or California, the same conversations are happening here that they're happening overseas. So I think it's important for people to understand and be aware that, you know, racism is not just a United States issue.
Yeah, and I asked that question because we know the International Women's Day, thanks to Christy. Theme is a challenge world is an alert world. A challenge world is an alert world, and from challenge come change. And so the theme is for, I guess, Women's History Month, but more importantly, International Women's Day is choose to challenge. And I definitely wanted to somewhat challenge Oprah's surprise. Y'all know I love Oprah. Okay. I even got Oprah glasses, the new glasses. And when I put them, I was like, oh, I look like Oprah. I want to buy these. So so I wanted to challenge her when she was like, and this is like one of my favorite memes going around. She was like, what? Who is having those conversations, right? Because I was just like, Oprah, stop acting like you don't know that we don't ask, Black people do not ask the same thing.
But I saw something that said like they don't know if she was more so surprised that Meghan was saying this in the interview or that she was, you know, that this happened to her. So Oprah, you need to do a follow-up and let us know. Like, I mean, I know you did the thing with what's Gail's show?
Yeah, the CBS morning show.
Yeah, I know she did that, but we need another show like that because yeah, I don't know if it because she had said that they didn't have the questions in advance, right? So yeah, so I saw something that offered a different perspective on whether it was more so she was surprised that Meghan said this in the interview versus that it happened. And it could have been both.
Or Oprah could have just been giving us the Oprah and would have been like, what? Let me go out there and be like, what? Even though she knows.
Yeah, and maybe she was also pretending to be surprised because then she was trying to figure out who said it, right? So she was like, what? But I was just kind of like, I guess this goes back to the question, you know, I was asking about Meghan. You know, I was surprised that Meghan was surprised that people were asking this question because everyone, at least for me, when they first started dating and decided they were getting married, I was like, ooh, if them Jamaican genes come through a little too hard on that baby, that's a whole different conversation. You know what I mean? Like I had that question. I had that conversation with my friends because that's a different to what Kerri said. And it's not just like in terms of how this child is perceived in terms of you know, being royal or anything, but it also is Meghan would have to help her child navigate the world differently, right? Because that is a different walk that child, if she or he or their new baby is, you know, darker complexion, they're like that's going to be a different journey for that child. So yes, I wanted to challenge that. Like I was in here like, what? Like looking at the both of them, like who's not having that conversation? But but the last part of the interview, just to pivot back around equality, and I know Crystal, Lord, I have too many friends with C's. Christy was talking about equality in terms of justice, but I wanted to talk about equality in terms of love, because the last thing Meghan said, last question Oprah asked Meghan and Harry was, do you regret anything? And I believe that both of them said no, but given that she said no.
Meghan didn't say no. Meghan said she did have one regret.
Which was what?
She said she regretted believing that she would be protected.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. She said she believed that she regret that she believed, what Courtney said. And then right before that,
it's came lit, okay?
Exactly what Kane's Lit said today. What she said. But right before that, she talked about giving it all up for love. And she said, she had to give up her career, her life as she knew it, her friends, and she did all that for love. So, where would you all consider that equality in marriage? And is it ever okay to give up everything? And I'm putting that in air quotes for those of you all that are listening, for love. If women
So I could go first. As someone who feels like I gave up quite a bit for love, because although I kept my job, I do feel like my job is still in DC and I live in Chicago. I feel like it does impact my career opportunities, being that I work for the federal government and DC is federal government central. I feel like I did give up, you know, no, I didn't give up my friendships, but I'm not where majority of my friends are. I'm not where my family is. So I do feel like I had to give up something. But I also feel like marriage is very much about give and take, and it's not going to be equal all of the time. You're going to give up certain things. I mean, even even if you're not giving up a job, a career, or even if you're not giving up, relationships with your friends or whatever, you're giving up something. If you if you move out of your home and move into a new home, or if you move in with your spouse, you're giving up like your space. You know what I'm saying? Like when I moved here, my husband had to give up I moved into his house. He had to give up his space. He had to give up closet space. You know what I'm saying? Like there are certain things, whether they be big or small, that you're going to give up. Now, with Meghan, I mean, it was on a whole nother level because she married into this institution of a family, and she had to be very careful about what she did and probably who she talked to and what she said. So it's on a different level, but I do think that there's not always going to be 50-50 in relationships or marriages. It's going to go up and down, and you're going to give up something in a marriage. What like I said, whether it be big or small.
do you think that the sacrifices that she made is worth it from your perspective?
I think it is because she has her prince. Well, I mean, that's she seems to be very much in love. Harry gave up a lot. He gave up a lot in order to protect his family. He gave up money. I mean, even though his mother left him money, he gave up like all of the things that come along with the title, with, all of the privileges. And I very much believe, like he says, like his father and his brother kind of feel trapped. I think, he definitely has the courage to leave, and leave all that behind, to give up the protection and the privileges. But I also think mothers know their children. And I think that Princess Diana was wise enough to know that that particular child probably was going to leave at some point. So she did set him up a nice little nest egg, and probably for both of them. But she knew how the royals treat outsiders based on her experience. And I feel like she wanted to make sure that she protected her children if they ever wanted to leave that institution.
Yeah, I don't think it was worth it. I mean, for love. I mean, if her goal was that at the end of the day she just wanted to be with her husband, then I think she got that. And so in that case, it is. But if that is what she wanted at the end of the day, then I'm not sure why she's on Oprah. Because she would have gotten what she wanted. I also wonder if I'm happy that Diana did leave her son something, especially in Kerri and Marsha. You all may know more about like the hierarchy, but from watching The Crown and documentaries, like I feel like Harry kind of moves down the more like William moves up. So like if William is next in line for the throne, and then when then like Harry moves down, because here, like when they're growing up, William is here, right? But if William dies or something, then Harry goes here, right? No, it's not how that works. That's what I'm asking.
So, well, first is Charles is next.
Right.
And then William.
Right.
Then
And
George.
George is the baby, right?
Yeah.
Right.
No, George is the firstborn of William.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, so after every child, then Harry then comes up. He goes down. So like if William had another child, he goes down further.
Right. So that's my point. My point is like that's exactly what I'm saying. So I feel like also in Diana leaving something for Harry is because she also knew his place in the family. And from what I've seen, like just watching like the documentaries in The Crown, the second and third and fourth children, you know, they're just kind of like there. You know, because they are not in line for the throne. And I also on my status, someone else offered another perspective, and she was just like, you know, Harry was also probably blinded as well, because he's always been the rebellious child. And so he probably thought that because they indulged his rebellion, you know, all of these years, and that he has not had to give up much, he probably thought that the same thing could translate to him now being the head of a family, you know. But like now what you do affects like your family, and that's like a different perspective. But ultimately, I just cringe when she used the word everything. Like I know that you're going to sacrifice, and there is tough decisions in relationships and in marriage, but I cannot see myself ever wanting to describe my contribution to a relationship as giving up everything. Like I would hope that love would not ask me to give up everything. That does not feel like love to me at all. Yeah, it doesn't. It just doesn't feel like love to me. But if at the end, as I said, she wanted her husband, she got that. And that's great.
I don't know. I think I would go to say I agree with Christy. I think Meghan Markle's sacrifice is a different level because she's marrying into a royal family. So it's a different conversation. Like, unless you're marrying into a royal family, I don't really know if the conversation is going to be the same. But I also don't know. Look, on the outside looking in, what I would say is I don't necessarily know if the term everything was appropriate. And I say that to say I think Meghan Markle gave up all of her United States things, like her celebrity, her family, like her friends in terms of the US. But when you see it, I'm wondering if she gained something. Like I don't necessarily know if I feel like her contribution to the relationship was giving up everything. I feel like I feel like while she gave up everything in the US, she was looking to gain something. Did she gain that? I don't know. I don't necessarily know if I can say that because I'm not her. I'm not in her shoes, like looking on the outside, looking in.
And she didn't say anything that she's gained in that interview either, so we don't know.
Yeah. I don't necessarily know. Do I think you should give up everything to be in a relationship? No, but at the same time, like, I ain't married into a royal family, so I don't know what the conversation was. You know, I'm married no regular schmegler dude from whoever. Who knows? Like,
so you married a royal.
You don't know that.
You had an opportunity.
You're right.
Right, exactly. But if you had an opportunity to marry a royal, you'd be willing to give up everything for royalty.
I don't necessarily think. I think it goes back to the original question. You're giving it up for love, because she's not giving up for Roy, she's giving up for Harry. So I think me personally, I couldn't give up everything for that, but I think maybe, and okay, this might be the Pisces, romanticizing love person in me. I feel like if like maybe the work that she thought she was going to be able to do on that end would have, been enough for her to give that up. Or if she even thought she was giving it up, maybe she didn't think in the beginning she was giving it all up until she actually got in there and realized, like, oh shit, I got to give all this shit up. Like maybe she thought I only got to give enough of it up to be here for a little bit, and then I can, like, do like Kate does. Kate still has her friends and her family. Maybe she thought she could do that. I don't know. But personally, I don't necessarily feel like I could give it all up for love, but who knows what's on the other side of that. And I think maybe she was just taking that chance. But then that's also the romantic Pisces relationship emotional person in me.
I see what you're saying. Like she probably thought that she was just like transitioning or evolving. And when she got there, it turned out to be, something different. But that goes back to the very first part of the conversation that we had, right? About like questions you should ask, things you might want to know.
I just add something real quick. I think, like Courtney said, she just didn't know. Like, I think a lot of things, I mean, maybe she knew by Harry telling her or somebody from the firm telling her, like, you're going to have to give up. You got to come off social media. You got to give up your blog. You cannot act in whatever. So, what was that suit she was on? You can't act in that show anymore. Like, so she knew those things, but I think she did not know what would happen probably. Like, after she said, I do, and like the way that the tabloids treated her and then the way that the firm reacted and trying to keep her locked up inside like their home, like I don't think she could have foresaw that. And so I think in hindsight, she probably does feel like I gave up everything. But I don't think she probably could have seen it coming.
Yeah. And it also doesn't sound like she cared to ask. Sorry, that's just like, that's my, like, it does. And like I said, this is only by the interview that she gave with Oprah. Like she didn't say what she gained. She didn't say that she had conversations. It sounded, she said she did not want to know. And she seems like she learned certain things on the fly. So.
Okay, for me, what I would say from the everything comment, I am thinking more along the lines of freedom and independence, because as the celebrity, as the American, you can literally live by the seat of your pants. Like you can take off as you feel, do what you like, have the friends that you want to have. You are the person who gets to say, I go here, I go there. She was to a point where she could probably be saying no to certain contracts, no to certain roles. She wasn't now having to take everything. So it's a different too coming from being green into it, because if she was still in that stage where she didn't even have a major role in anything, I believe it's not so much freedom and independence she would have been given up, but she was now establishing herself, and she had to give up the freedom and the independence. um Again, from the stuff that I read, it was like, she made it seem very trapped, but yet, she still traveled. Like, and that's something that people don't get, that when you go to that kind of life, like you're no longer traveling first class or commercial, like you're traveling in your own plane. Like, jetting off is something totally different. So to me, there are gains and there are exchanges. If you want to go see your friends, it's not like me saying I want to go see Marsha and getting in my car and driving for 15 minutes. It is your husband saying, okay, let's go. Let's take the jet and we're going to go to New York. We're going to go to Aspen. We're going to go to wherever. We're going to take your friends with us. It's a different lifestyle that you would now have to get accustomed to. But again, even though you get those privileges, the problem is you are still in a place of asking. And that is something that you probably were not accustomed to. It's not, can we go see my friends? As opposed to before, I'm going out with the girls. I have to go, can you take me to see the girls? You know where I'm coming from. I'm not sure if she could go by herself. But to what Christy was saying, for me, I find people always go 50-50 in relationships. But I think that 50-50 is not what we think 50-50 is. So sometimes 50-50 is 80-20 in a relationship. Sometimes 50-50 is 70-30. It's 60-40. But I always say it's never majority one person and minimal the other person all the time. So if I come into a relationship and I'm giving 80 and you're giving 20, eventually we should come to a place of 50-50, or I then lose my job and you're the person working. I'm now the 20, you're the 80, but we always got add up to 100. Like that's my thing. However, when Rashana talks about the everything, it's almost sounding like, from Megan, it's like a zero. And that's one thing that you should never be 0, 100, because you cannot pour from an empty glass. Even if you are 5%, you can contribute something, but you can't pour from empty. So that's just my take on it. So it's always about that give and take, yes, but you also need to understand that sometimes you're going to be taking more. And it's not necessarily in terms of tangible stuff. Like sometimes you are not mentally there, and this person has to be 80% of the motivation. Like you have to deal with the kid and everything today. Just, I cannot. And for that period, you're the 80, that person's the 80, you're the 20. But they may deal with the kid and then you're 80 the host. So it's not the same, but it just needs to equal that 100. And however you split it, if there's happiness in there, then you're gonna know why you did it.
Yeah. Yeah, that 0%. I was like, dang, everything. That's why I said I really hope that she speaks to a therapist, because that's a hard place. I would imagine, to just have to build yourself up at the same time while everything around you is also trying to build itself up. Like even your husband, like he has his things that he has to work out too. So it's like, yeah, it's just a hard place. Marsha, I'm looking at you. You're on this side of my screen, so.
What was the question that you were looking at?
The question is it ever okay to give up everything? And maybe you also like heard it differently than I did. When I hear everything, y'all know I'm a very literal person when it comes to words. So when I hear everything, I'm like, everything.
When I heard everything, I don't necessarily think it was everything. I think it was majority of things, which is like what everybody mentioned, where it was her career, moving to a new place, new country altogether, a new lifestyle, having a title. So she gave up a lot, but she still had personality. She still maintained, even though it wasn't the same kind of contact, she still maintained some contact with her friends. Um, so it was most things, but she didn't give her everything. But like Christy said, the flip side occurred now that they have moved to America. Harry gave up a lot for her. So I guess in a sense it balanced itself back out. But would you give up everything for love? Some people do, and they don't regret it, and they live happy lives. So it really depends on if you're willing to take the risks. And in life, everything is about how willing are you to take the risks, or and to see how it turns out.
Yeah. Yeah. So all in all, anyone have any other things they want to say about the interview? Yeah. I just felt so bad for her. I was just like, oh my gosh. You got a lot going on, girl. So peace and strength, prayers to Meghan Markle. And I know we're not going to talk about this, but I also just think about the fact that she is currently with child, and we know how like different emotions and things can like energies can transfer to the child. So I really just wish her like as much peace as she can possibly have during this. I'm gonna be really interested to watch their daughter grow up and see like what type of personality that she has, because a lot of those traumas can pass to a child. And yeah, I while she might not be physically protected by security or whatever, I hope that she is spiritually protected by the Lord and mentally protected during this time. So thank y'all ladies for indulging me in this conversation for Women's History Month. I appreciate it. Hearing y'all's perspective and
This was good.
yeah.
So we always do. I know you guys. I took my ring light out. It's blinding my face and it's hot. I'm sorry. So we always do after our segment a 1,000 segment. And because it is International Women's Month, I would like to ask you all ladies, which Black-owned women business, international or local, that you are highlighting or supporting this month for International Women's History Month. And I'm going to go to Always Lit first.
Yes, always lit. So I am gonna highlight African Splash. She is on Instagram, so if you are on the Insta, follow her. She sells clothing. She's based in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and she sells clothing. I know she's done bags. She does masks. I'm pretty sure anything that you want, she can get it made for you. When I was in Tanzania a few years ago, she was my go-to for all of my outfits. I'm gonna have to wear something one day now that it's warming up because a lot of my pieces are warmer weather outfits, so I'm gonna have to wear something from her. But yes, hit her up. She does ship internationally, so she's amazing. Like there's a lot of pieces that I want to get, so I might have to get them shipped, or I just might have to plan a trip to Tanzania because that is like my second home. I have a special place in my heart for Tanzania. So yes, check her out. African Splash. Her name is Priska.
Did she make our bridesmaids robes?
She did. So I'll have to post it next week. So I'll post a picture of the bridesmaids robes that she made for what we wore prior to my wedding, and also I had a robe made as well.
Yeah, those were really pretty. And even though it's a robe, I wear it out as like a jacket, like
That's a good idea.
yeah. So or like over like a what do you call this? Like a jersey dress, spandex dress
Hmm.
type thing, like simple thing. I'll go next since I'm already talking. Oh, go ahead, Courtney. Did you want
Nope,
to?
you go next. Go ahead.
I'm supporting everybody, but primarily I don't have their shirt on, but I supported the Hustlers Guild, which is a nonprofit based out of DC, but they work with several different youth programs across the nation and also celebrities. And they have a shirt out right now that I will actually post on the page because I'll post on the page, and it's Trust Black Women. So you can follow them at the Hustlers Guild. And the shirt has Nina Simone, Harriet Tubman, and Shirley Chisholm, and maybe it's Coretta that's on there. I can't remember the fourth person, but it has all of them in black and white. And of course, they have their gold chains on. So it's an ode to hip hop because that is what the Hustler Guild is about. And it's pretty dope. It's one of my favorite shirts. So I will post that today because today's my last day. Running the page. Yeah. I made it.
Marsha or Kerri, do you guys want to go next? Marsha?
Okay, I will highlight Olga Elaine Designs as a local company in Barbados, and she makes jewelry for, it's like one of a kind pieces. So you have one piece and somebody can have something similar, but it's never the same. And the logo is for women who live boldly. And she's my friend, so I'll highlight her.
Yes, we got to support the friends, support the homies, support each other. Speaking of that, Courtney has a podcast, Stepping Into She podcast, that just dropped this week. She did not mention it in the check-in, but y'all go, as a Black woman this month, start watching, listening to the Stepping Into She podcast, available on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe, give her those 5 stars. And if you watch the IG live IGTV live series, if you miss it, now you can listen to it on the podcast.
Okay, so I guess my person is gonna be Christian, and on Instagram, her page is by Christian, and Christian is spelled KRISHTUN. She actually works with chain, beads, and crochet. So she does wool, and she can crochet anything. Some of the bikinis that she makes, they are amazing. Christian, her business turned 2 weeks ago, actually. Yeah, it turned 5 years old about 2 weeks ago. And she has one assistant. She has been making orders to ship around the world. It's only because of COVID that, that's restricted what she can do. But this year she actually did her first piece of lingerie, and she did it for Valentine's. And it was like a structured bone corseted crochet piece, and it was really, really gorgeous. So you can just check it on Instagram, but Christian is awesome.
Kerri, can I ask a question? So when you do a crochet bikini and it gets wet,
So
what's
it's lined and everything. Hold on, I'll show you what one looks like. Can you see my screen?
yes.
So she works with gold chain as well. So let me show you. This was actually a 2-piece structure that she did for her birthday. So this is actually Christian.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to find her on Instagram. Thank you.
Then she does more than that, because like this is a cover over, but this is a bikini.
Okay, so when it gets wet, does it dry like a regular bathing suit, or does it like hold the water?
Yeah, it dries because it's lined as well in normal swimsuit material. So
Okay.
it dries pretty quickly. And so yeah.
Awesome. I've always wanted to know about that with the crochet. Thank you.
So I'll go. I guess I'm gonna pull in the rear here and go at the end. Outside of highlighting my damn self this month, I am going to highlight. I did a podcast episode with 2 women today who work locally in Jersey City, the Connected Vine and Melanin Magic, and they stand for Victors in Need of Each Other and Females in Need of Empowerment. And they support young girls who live in Hudson County. They are mentors, they are supporters, they are victors, and they are 2 women who are empowering the community through the lens of Black women, particularly youth who may have been in the juvenile justice system. And they just preach excellence and excelling above disadvantages and generational trauma. So I am shouting them out because they're doing a damn thing. And I'm excited that they actually came onto the podcast. So I'm shouting them out today. So with that said, ladies and everyone who was listening, thank you guys for this episode. Our next episode drops on Thursday, March 25th, and you can catch our episode every other Thursday, released on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and all other streaming platforms that you might want to get your podcast information from. And on that note, be sure to subscribe, to leave a review, and to help us grow our tribe by sharing this with your friends. So ladies, any last minute thoughts, pieces, farewells, anything you want to do before we head out today?
Thank you, Kerri and Marsha, for joining us today.
You said what?
I'd say when we start back traveling, come to Barbados.
Yes, y'all better go to Barbados, okay? Y'all better get them those fish cakes, because I've been waiting for those fish cakes because we're trying to make some and I ain't getting them. But I'm gonna come back to Barbados and give me some fish cakes.
Well, that was my first time, and I will say I did pretty good for my first time, especially because I substituted regular flour for wheat flour. But I got the taste, so I need to keep working on it a little bit, but it was good.
I mean, I can't verify that because I ain't eat them, but I'm sure that
I will let y'all know. I'm really the person, when I cook, if it's not good, I'll tell you it's not good. I'll be like, yeah.
But yes, y'all go to Barbados. Any other last minute thoughts, ladies? from the
I can stay at
crib.
your house when I come to Barbados.
Wait, no, you didn't ask me. I live in Barbados.
I said, Marsha, I can stay at your house when I come to
Why you keep
Barbados.
doing that to March? Stop doing that.
Oh, that's what you asked. Sure.
Slaps me. Peace out.